willing, next to be boss, in a hungry to buy, hear the wish of the oppressed, to at least get to be dressed in style. Freedom is slavery, the goddamn soul, the liquid dorsal, so profitable. Painful pastime, paid to unwind, paid to be born, paid to die. So savage in their machine, get a bugged out to privacy. So savage in their machine, and all for the life supreme. So savage in their machine, get a bugged out to privacy. So savage in their machine, and all for the life supreme. Here we are now, so entertained. We aim for stupid, means we're going insane. Gothic disorder, there's war and peace. Just a language to what they believe. Friction is power, but this is from not knowing to knowing this.
Witam wszystkich bardzo serdecznie, z tej strony Roman i zapraszam was na szczęście kolejny odcinek z Night City Wire. Niestety kamerka się jak zwykle przywiesiła na wstępie, także widzicie mnie w bardzo ciekawej pozycji, jak przeglądam. Odświeżam Twittera, żeby wiedzieć... O dobra, już się odcięło, siema. Żeby wiedzieć, co się dzieje z tymi szkołami. Oczywiście konferencja miała być o 15, później 17, 17:25 nic nadal nie ma. Mam włączonego w drugiej karcie streama, gdzie ma niby być ta konferencja odnośnie szkół. Miejmy nadzieję, że zamknął ten pierdolnik w pizdu i że tych lekcji nie będzie. Byłoby bardzo przyjemnie. Na Twitterze na razie nic nie wiadomo, wszyscy tylko też plują na nich, że się spóźniają, już prawie pół godziny. Ja mam wrażenie, że to jest taktyka, oni specjalnie to robią. Nie wiem, żeby mniej ludzi, tylko nie wiem po co by to miało mniej ludzi oglądać. Bo wiecie, zaczniecie razem z Cyberpunkiem, dlatego że zaczynam pół godziny, bo jak wiecie to jeszcze odliczanie w rogu 34 minuty, ale o wpół do ma się zacząć rozwiązanie konkursu cosplayowego z właśnie Cyberpunka. Także zobaczymy co to będzie, no i o 18 będzie już cały odcinek Night City Wire, gdzie się skupią twórcy na pojazdach. Generalnie dobrze się udało zrobić tego streama, bo ogarnąłem tego neta mojego po światłowodzie. Już mam nadzieję, że nie będzie w najbliższym czasie problemów, naprawdę. Idealnie weszło, bo dzisiaj ten stream, ja na jutro jeszcze będę musiał nagrać film z SW-Tora, ale też on się pojawi, raczej bezproblemowo. I też później koło 18 mój brat tutaj dołączy, żeby obejrzeć samo Night City Wire. Także gdzieś tam będzie chwilę przerwy technicznej, gdzie będę to wszystko ustawiać. Jak widzicie, kamerka też jest trochę źle ustawiona, tutaj może trochę mnie za dużo ucina, ale to nic. Patrzę dalej tego Twittera, na Twitterze nadal nic nie ma, zresztą, znaczy mam wyciszonego tego streama. O, dobra, czekajcie, jest konferencja Morawieckiego. Ale dobra, to ja już nie będę jej włączać. W każdym razie jest konferencja już Morawieckiego w końcu, ale jako, że już nie zostało mało czasu, to już będziemy oglądać Cyberpunka generalnie. Ale ja będę tutaj sobie odświeżał tego Twittera co jakiś czas i zobaczymy co tam w końcu jakie będą ostatecznie oficjalne decyzje rządu. Jak mówię, oby zamknęli. Jak będzie wyglądała premiera, może dadzą większe pliki do pobrania zawczasu czy coś. Czuję już jak serwery płaczą. Zobaczymy. Znaczy na pewno jakiś preload będzie, wydaje mi się. Raczej to jest teraz standard przy większych premierach. Chociaż tak będzie one day patch, także nawet jak się wcześniej preload nie grę, to i tak będzie problem. Już nie wiem na jakiej zasadzie to będzie działać, bo w sumie preload będą mogli zrobić tylko ci, którzy zamówili cyfrowo kompletnie, ja mam kolekcjonerkę. Także do mnie kolekcjonerka przyjdzie w dniu premiery, a w dniu premiery będę musiał ją pobrać. Już mi się kurwa tyle znajomych zadeklarowało, że przyjeżdża do mnie, żeby na moim necie ściągnąć, bo oni nie mają niestety światłowodu, żeby ściągać Cyberpunka na premierę, także zobaczymy, co z tego wyjdzie. No dobra, zobaczmy. Tak ludzie na razie marudzą, że znowu o seniorach gada, a nic o szkołach. Generalnie. I że pieprze od rzeczy tak samo jak i wtedy. Zaraz odświeżę jeszcze tego Twittera. Okej, chronić seniorów. No na razie jest tylko o seniorach. Ludzie marudzą na to. Bo nie o to chodzi wszystkim. Jadę do ciebie pobierać. No. To, słuchajcie, jakby mi wszyscy przyjadą naraz, to nie pociągnie. To aż taki dobry internet nie jest. Ja mam tylko 50 mega downloadu. To mi się będzie pobierać pewnie za 3-4 godziny. W sumie nie wiem, ile bym się policzyć. No, jestem ciekaw. Patrzmy. Okej, ludzie dalej marudzą. Dalej marudzą i tylko osoby starsze, czyli nic. A za chwilę zaczyna się Night Citywire. W teorii, zobaczymy. Zaraz odciszę streama. A w sumie może już teraz. Albo dobra, no jak będzie zakończyć odliczenie, bo coś się stanie, to wtedy odświeżę streama. Generalnie. I sobie zmienimy scenę. Generalnie. To jak ty kamienny bez 1 megabitu? Ja mam w teorii 1 megabit na mobilnym teraz, a mi strony to się w ogóle nie chcą na kompie wczytywać. Na telefonie jeszcze jako tako. Film na YouTubie w 480p da się oglądać, ale strony na kompie to mi się masakrycznie długo ładują. Nie wiem czemu. Znaczy teraz już normalnie, mam normalny internet, ale... No. Dobra, i akurat bulecy mają taki spokojniejszy moment, także zmieńmy sobie już to. Możemy sobie też zmienić scenę na większą. Czemu tu nie ma kamerki? To jest zajebiste. Tanie i nie wiem, gdzie jest kamierka. Tu jest kamierka, dobra. O, i proszę bardzo, zaczynamy.
Night City is a place of many faces, from power-mongering corpos and chromed-out celebrities to infamous gang members and hard-hitting mercenaries. Take part in our cosplay contest and show us which face of Cyberpunk 2077 is yours.
Także jak mówiłem na początek, rozwiązanie konkursu cosplayowego, a do samego Night Citywire jeszcze pół godziny.
Our Cyberpunk 2077 cosplay contest. In this contest, we asked our talented community to cosplay a character from the game based on officially published art, screenshots, videos, cosplay guides, etc. And let me tell you one thing, we were blown away by the results. After announcing the contest in June 2019, we decided to take it for a tour around the world. We visited 5 gaming events in different countries. We went to Gamescom in Germany, PAX in the USA, Tokyo Game Show in Japan, Igromir in Russia, and finally, Paris Games Week in France. I'm sure not all of you had the opportunity to be there, so let's see how it all went down.
To jeszcze będzie mały recap do momentu, kiedy takie imprezy normalnie się organizowało. W tym roku PGA chyba normalnie będzie, bardzo możliwe, że się wybiorę. To już tak mogę wstępnie zapowiedzieć. Także no. To w ogóle niektóre ujęcia chyba są z PGA. Albo z Gamescomu, bo tam widzę było bardzo podobnie, bo to stoisko identycznie na PGA było w tamtym roku. O, mamy Mike'a Pondsmitha z tą gitarą, jak ja bym chciał mieć tą gitarę. Oczu ludzie, masakra.
In each of those events, we chose one winner who advanced to the grand finale. But we weren't done yet. For everyone who couldn't be there, we also organized online qualifiers where people could submit their cosplays on a dedicated website. You see, we met dozens of amazing cosplayers during offline qualifiers, but we received hundreds more submissions online. So as you can imagine, the choice wasn't easy. In fact, it was so hard that instead of choosing 5 more finalists from online qualifiers, we chose 7. And now, 12 best Cyberpunk cosplayers are competing for the first place in the first
No jestem ciekaw, co wygra. I tak, dokładnie, dzisiaj samodziki będą pokazywać później.
$30,000 prize pool. Are you ready to meet
Ja
them?
jestem ciekaw, jakim bardzo się zwróci to, bo jednak koszty zrobienia takich kostiumów podejrzewam trochę jednak wynoszą.
Everyone, I'm Valentine Costumes, and this is my V cosplay. I'd love to have more time to show you all of the details of this costume, from the precise top stitching and hand-painted motifs, through the custom modelled and finished guns and props, but for now, let's just watch it all in action.
No zajebiście. I to chyba normalnie można nosić.
Hey, Saint!
V, you got my splinter?
Sure have. You got my stuff? The hell is this, Saint?
Hey, if anything goes wrong, this never happened.
You worry too much, Saint. Nothing's gonna go wrong.
Told you, Samurai. Don't think anything's going wrong.
What went wrong?
Ale zajebiście, że w ogóle gościu zrobił jeszcze krótki cinematic. O kurde, ten co na plecach ma.
Привет, я Степанов Сергей, обычный парень из России, деревни Пахин. Мое любимое занятие — создавать крутые вещи. Мечтаю о своей мастерской. Полуфинал сделал меня на шаг ближе к этой цели. Ройс был хорошо описан, и я воспроизвел его в мельчайших деталях. Но на экзоскелет не было гайда. Предстояла большая и сложная работа. Хотя, что рассказывать? Брейн-дэнс. Работал в гараже у отца, на кухне и даже на улице. Вес костюма около 80 килограммов.
No kurde mać. No w porównaniu do tamtego poprzedniego to urywa dupę i to już zdecydowanie ma większe szanse na wygraną.
Как в игре. Активаторы на ногах включают механические звуки шагов. Выстрел
I w tym normalnie można chodzić. What the fuck?
Фразы Ройса для атмосферы злодея. Щит имеет перфорацию с подсветкой.
Jebany zbudował egzoszkielet. Ta maska taka trochę średnia, ale jebany zrobił egzoszkielet. Ta laska też fajnie wygląda. Ale no kurde, egzoszkielet. Come on. To w ogóle z tego co pamiętam jest postać dziewczyny Elona Muska, czyli... Boże, jak ona miała na imię? Boże, zapomniałem jak się nazywa. Grimes? O, Grimes właśnie. To chyba jest jej postać. No fajny generalnie, ale tak no do tamtego poprzedniego to tak nie bardzo. Grimes gra Lizzy Weezy. Nie mam tego pojęcia za postać. Zamówiłem sobie tą oficjalną książkę Cyberpunka. Przyjdzie mi pewnie jutro albo pojutrze. Także coś więcej sobie poczytam o lore i może wtedy będę trochę więcej wiedział, znał więcej postaci i tak dalej. A tutaj gościu ktoś, kto Johnego Silverhanta cosplayuje.
Fan of CD Projekt Red's games for a long time, dating back to when I started playing The Witcher 3. And when I saw that they were coming out with Cyberpunk 2077, I was very excited. And even more excited when they announced a Cyberpunk cosplay contest. I'd never cosplayed before and I was kind of nervous to start the competition, but when I saw that Johnny Silverhand was one of the characters they could cosplay as, I immediately jumped on it because I'm a guitarist myself and I thought I could play the character very well. And being a guitarist, I wanted to be able to play the guitar while wearing the costume. So when I built the costume, I made sure that I was able to play the guitar while wearing that.
I to jest właśnie bardzo fajne, że można w tym normalnie chodzić i normalnie, o właśnie, możesz srebrną ręką pocisnąć na gitarze. Nice. Tu jakiś fajny mieczur. Ja jestem ciekaw, czy CD Projekt im pomagał już teraz w robieniu tych filmów wszystkich, czy oni to sami wszystko robili? To jest dobre pytanie. No to ciekawe, kamienny, no dobrze wiedzieć. Nie wiem, czy to już trochę nie zakrawa na spoiler, no ale no w sumie nie wiadomo, czy to w grze będzie to. O, tu jakieś Mantis Blade'y, ale podejrzewam, że nie chowane. Niestety.
Dick's just sent over a bounty, and she should be headed his way.
Wow, look who it is. You got some balls coming around here. We run this joint. What you gonna do about it? Oh, what the?
Spare me, I'll call off the bounty.
Ten film już tak trochę... te efekty takie średniawe. I cosplay też taki bym powiedział średni.
My name is Lola Zeta from Indonesia, Southeast Asia. Been waiting for 7 years and now the wait is over. So enough talking. We have a city to burn. Samurai.
Wstawaj się, samuraju. Zgadnijcie, co mnie budzi codziennie. Mam na budziku wake the fuck up, samurai. Jeszcze coś czuję, mnie to przez parę lat pobudzi. No nadal, wszystkie fajne, ale po tym egzoszkielecie to tak naprawdę nie ma. O, to może być fajne, bo tu mam nadzieję, że ten Spiderbot jest ogarnięty.
Since 2015. For this competition, I cosplay Dum Dum, a character which allows me to transform completely into a badass gang member from the world of Cyberpunk 2077. Thanks for watching and goodbye.
Jeżeli ten jej Spiderbot normalnie się porusza, jest robotem, to ma spore szanse dla mnie na pierwsze miejsce. Bo póki co, no to zdecydowanie ten gościu, który zrobił egzoszkielet, jest moim faworytem. Ale chyba nie, chyba ten robot chyba nie jest częścią cosplayu.
Hey guys, I'm Yugra and I'm an artist from Estonia. I like both digital and physical forms of art. I like to experiment with materials and I'm a huge fan of collab projects. My cosplay is a Manticore AD character, which I decided to upgrade with extra Cyberpunk swag. My jacket has an inbuilt screen for ads, while the boots are enchanted with lights and smoke machines. Cyberpunk 2077 is my the most ambitious project and I hope you enjoy it.
No spoko, graska też zajebiście w ogóle wygląda. I tu fajne te reklamy, ale nadal egzoszkielet lepszy. Fajnie, że tam jest ten wyświetlacz w tej kurtce.
Trauma Team International. 3 minutes. Heal, diagnose, extract. An emergency unit has been dispatched.
Our Trauma Team soldier comes equipped with the latest military-grade cyberway available. Deadly accuracy, faster reflexes, and of course, greater strength. The soldier, equipped with the most recent Kang Tower Industries weapons, the best weapons in the market. The Militech M10AF Lexington is a small caliber handgun, but no less deadly.
No też przyzwoity, ale generalnie to nadal nie ma nic lepszego niż tamten egzoszkielet.
Hi, I'm Dimitri, also known as Props It Yourself. I'm a French cosplayer, and this is my Cyberpunk cosplay for the final.
You Militech people got a lot of nerve calling these meetings and not showing up. Where were you?
I'm sorry. I thought that we agreed to meet in a secure location.
That's bullshit, you know it. Is that all you got? You belong to Maelstrom now, bitch.
Hello, my name's Larry Hastings. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. A lot of people said that Royce couldn't be done based on his aesthetics. However, myself and my team thought that that was the most interesting problem that we had to solve. Thus, we brought him to life. Here's what we got.
Sorry, że złą scenę przełączyłem.
So you are...
Catherine, but you can call me Vic.
You are not what I expected.
What? Can a girl from Czech Republic do guns in that city?
Yes, I mean, no, what I meant actually was...
Fajny klub, kurde, naprawdę wygląda jak ten z gry. Podobnie przynajmniej, kolory wiadomo i to wszystko.
Sorry, buying or not? Militech M10AF Lexington. With rapid fire. Come now, GPT. Muhidi the Tanga. And are a big boy Achilles. So, which one? Thirsty? You forgot to check out these!
A teraz tak, jeszcze mała przerwa na ogłoszenia odnośnie sytuacji w Polsce. Nauczanie hybrydowe w czerwonych strefach w szkołach w szkołach wyższych i ponadgimnazjalnych z wyłączeniem zajęć praktycznych.
Let's talk about prizes one more time. I already mentioned the $30,000 prize pool, but that's not all.
Prawie wylałem picie.
Surprise. We decided that regular trophies are not cool enough. So instead of that, the top 3 will receive detailed props based on weapons from the game. They have been made specifically for this occasion, and winners will be able to do with them as they please. They can use them as props in their photoshoots, or just display them in a cool place in their houses or their workshops.
Siemano Łukasz, siemano.
To be able to judge everyone fairly, earlier this September, we organized a pre-judging session with each of our finalists. We were joined by our expert judges, Mal Cosplay and Maya Felicitas. You may know them as the original Vs. So, after taking a closer look at every picture, every video, every work-in-progress material sent by our finalists and asking them detailed questions about their costumes, we have finally...
No ja myślę, że powinien wygrać ten gość, który zrobił egzoszkielet. Generalnie.
The third place goes to someone who did an incredibly authentic job. When you see him walking in the streets, you think this guy came straight from the game.
He looks like the real deal. Ladies and gentlemen, the third place goes to Larry Hastings, aka Vulture Productions, from the US as Royce.
No, ten Royce wyglądał fajnie, fajnie to było, także tutaj się zgodzę, no spoko, zasłużone trzecie.
The winner of the second place did something that none of us or any of the other judges have ever seen before. Her crafting skills are outstanding and she left all of us speechless.
Ladies and gentlemen and comrades, the second place.
No nie, to drugie miejsce będzie miał.
Omeli Milova from Russia as...
A nie! O, okej. Okej, ta laska w srebrnym. Zajebiście. Dobra, to jeszcze jest szansa, że pan w egzoszkielecie wygra.
So much. Oh my god.
Okej, bo to jest naprawdę stalowy kostium, w który ona wchodzi i możecie w nim poruszać. No to dobra, tego nie wiedziałem. Myślałem, że to bardziej jakiś body paint i tak dalej. A jednak jak tak, to spoko.
First place goes to someone who used almost every cosplay technique we've ever heard of and also used some very professional techniques.
She even cut her long hair and shaved
O,
the Cyberpunk character.
serio? Nie wygrał ten z egzoszkieletem, dla mnie wygrał ten z egzoszkieletem.
Cosplay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Leute, the first place in the Cyberpunk cosplay contest goes to, let's say together,
Okay.
Tingilia Cosplay from Germany as Dum Dum!
Serio? Ona jakby... Nie wiem czemu. Znaczy no niby tutaj fajny jakiś ten kostium, ale nie. Mówię, dla mnie wygrał ten z egzoszkieletem zdecydowanie.
Congratulations! That was amazing. Please make sure to spend that cash wisely. Or not. I guess this is it. This is the end of the contest. It has been a wild ride for all of us, but let me tell you one thing before we finish. I'd like to thank every single participant. Whether you made it to the finale or not, you all showed enormous talent and determination, and I hope that you will keep up the good work, because there's still so many characters left to cosplay, and you will be able to meet them very soon on November 19th, 2020. So thank you once again, and see you in Night City.
No dobra, trochę się nie zgadzam z tymi wynikami, tak szczerze. Ale no dobra, niech im będzie. Czyli co, będziemy chyba mieli 10 minut przerwy. Mam wrażenie, bo 10 minut nam jeszcze zostało do samego Night City Wire. Ja sobie może zmienię scenę na tą. Także dobra, zrobimy tak. Zrobimy sobie teraz przerwę. Ja zostawię to odliczanko. I generalnie pójdę do łazienki. Też ogarnę tutaj wszystko dla mojego brata. Widzę, że podczas przerwy nie mam ustawionego tutaj podglądu streama. Zastanawiam się, na którą scenę mogę przełączyć, żeby to miało sens. Na tą? Być może, jeżeli włączę tak. O, dobra, jak zrobię tak, to będziecie mieli ten ekran i będzie przerwa. Dobra, także chwila przerwy. Ja idę ogarnąć to już na samą Night City Wire. Już mojego brata tutaj zawołam i ogarniemy stanowisko, żeby kamerka była i w ogóle. Także chwila przerwy i widzimy się za chwilę. No i dobra, jesteśmy po przerwie, jak dzisiaj jest już Barcio.
Hello!
Trochę chory, ale...
Trochę chory, więc pewnie będę brzmiał jak autentyczne gówno.
Tak, i jeszcze mały update odnośnie tego, co mówiłem, bo tam przeczytałem to, co było w czerwonych strefach. W żółtych strefach ma być nauczanie hybrydowe.
Nakłamał, głupi debil. Będzie hybrydowe, będziemy żyli.
Tylko nie wiem, co to znaczy tak do końca, jak to będzie, wiecie, ustalane i tak dalej. Zaraz spróbuję coś znaleźć jeszcze. Hybrydowe. Dobra, zobaczmy, co mi tutaj powiedzą.
Na grupce już od poniedziałku ma być podobno, tylko...
No tak, tylko właśnie, czy... Znaczy, na jakim zasadzie to działa, no nie?
Faktycznie mogliby to trochę rozwinąć,
bo to tak chuja daje.
Czy ja myślę, że albo każdy dostanie na dziennik wiadomość od szkoły. Jak, wiesz, najpierw pewnie dostaną informacje dyrektorzy zasiądą do nauczycieli.
Okej, tu według jakiejś strony jest napisane, w dobie koronawirusa najbardziej rozwijaje się ten, albo są... A, to nie będę tego czytał, bo to zależy nie od szkoły. Czyli tak naprawdę jeszcze nie wiem, co my będziemy mieli, trzeba poczekać na to, jak będzie coś u nas już w szkołach po prostu, wiadomo, bo tak nic więcej to nie będzie niestety. Także no. Czekam. Pewnie dzisiaj jakieś może wiadomości, bo jutro będą oficjalnie w szkole ogłaszać. Żebym się nie zdziwił, jak jakieś alarmy będą
właśnie
w szkołach.
Akurat pewnie jutro wszystko poogłaszają, bo piątek...
Bo Międzyrzec jest w strefie żółtej, nie? No tak, bo w sumie cały kraj jest w strefie żółtej.
To kurwa... Nie, wiesz, tylko Międzyrzec. Na całą Polskę.
Nie, ale a właśnie, ale ciekawe, czerwone strefy.
Nie, my nie jesteśmy.
Ale gdzieś w okolicy są?
Nie wiem, czy Lublin nie jest, ale...
Ale to, bo to chyba wszystkie miasta powiatowe miały. Generalnie. Dobra, tutaj ciężko mi znaleźć na kompie.
mapę ogarnij.
Oj dobra, to później już mi się
chce
klikać.
to szybko znajdziesz.
No to
Czerwone
jak?
strefy Polska. CS. To nie jest CS.
Jest tutaj oficjalna strona Polska Governmentu, to być może coś tutaj będzie. Zobaczymy. No tu jest tylko mapa z ilością z ilością zachorowań.
Weź to pokaż jeszcze.
Oho. Dobra, tam nie będziemy na żywo, ale to nic. Będą jeszcze jakieś statystyki, ale czy będą strefy, to nie wiem.
Że weź tą łapkę
tu
wyżej.
jest całe WHO. Nie ma.
Tak w porównaniu do innych u nas jest dużo?
Nie, u nas mało.
Nie, tak.
Ja nie wiem, jak to wygląda w przeliczeniu na jednego mieszkańca, bo to
nie,
trzeba patrzeć...
raczej więcej niż mniej.
Liczba zachorowań na 10 000. No, u nas jest malutko.
No kurwa, to chujowo.
To trzeba liczyć przez ten. Oprócz wrum mają być radiostacje opisane. Nie wiem nic więcej na ten temat. O, czekajcie, tu może jest mapa. Ale fajnie było, jakby opisali. Na pewno wiem, że będzie jakaś hardkorowo-metalowa stacja, bo to UV mówił w filmach jakiś czas temu. O, dobra, są strefki. O, dobra, gdzieś tu koło nas.
Ty no?
Nie.
No jakoś... O Jezu, a my jesteśmy gdzie?
Tutaj. No to masz białą.
Nie no, jakoś ekstremalnie daleko nie jest ta czerwona strefa, ale...
No, albo to w Lublinie. Mówię, miasto wojewódzkie są objęte.
Kurwa, i miasta mają teraz zajebiście. Totalne wszyscy.
No.
Pana wieś.
Ale tam są zdalne oprócz praktycznych. A u nas te hybrydowe. Zobaczymy, co to będzie. Mam nadzieję, że zrobią, no nie wiem, bo ja nie wiem, jakie są opcje.
Ty na pewno będziesz miał dobrze, bo masz dobrego dyrektora. Ja się trochę martwię.
Tak, tylko ja jestem w klasie maturalnej i oni mogą cisnąć, żeby maturzyści koniecznie przychodzili do szkoły, no nie?
Nie wiem.
Każdy znajdzie coś do siebie. No tak, właśnie to jest właśnie bardzo fajne, że to wszystko jest tworzone jakby na potrzeby gry, ta muzyka, że to nie jest licencjowanie swojej muzyki od tych różnych twórców, tylko było zapłacone dla nich, żeby zrobili nową muzykę specjalnie.
Gdzie jest mój wietnamski rap? Nie, żebym słuchał wietnamskiego rapu. Taki tak zwany mem. Ty pop non-stop, where are you?
No dobra, za chwilę mam nadzieję fajne rzeczy.
O właśnie nie, jak będzie stacja K-popu, o mój Boże.
Czekajcie, bo mi tu jeszcze migają powiadomienia. Dobra, ja też jestem ciekawy, zobaczymy ile taka sytuacja się utrzyma, bo jak jeszcze będą dalej te zachorowania rosnąć, to może
pierdolną zdalną.
Pizdu zrobią zdalne wszędzie.
Tak.
Albo po prostu czerwone strefy zostaną większej ilości miejsc wprowadzone i tyle. Generalnie.
Ja mam tak, jak jutro będzie tyle samo albo więcej, to na pewno będzie w końcu zdalny. Jak będzie mniej trochę, to pewnie nie.
Jeszcze trzeba by patrzeć na przeliczenia, jeśli chodzi o liczbę testów, ale to zobaczymy jak to będzie. A na razie już skończmy z tą pandemią. To wybrali moment, kurde, akurat przed Night City Wire. Skupmy się na rzeczach fajnych i fajniejszych.
Gdzie jest mój ulubiony blond krakier?
Mogliby zrobić jakieś nowe intro do każdego odcinka.
Welcome to Night City Wire Episode 4, the show from us at CD Projekt Red, where we talk about all things Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to start today's episode by giving you a look at just some of the vehicles you might procure during your time in Night City, and having a chat to senior vehicle artist Paul, who's going to give us a little bit more information before we take you behind the scenes and a look at the lengths the teams have gone to bring vehicles to life. We're also going to have news on an exciting collaboration. Then we're going to be talking about
Zapewne chodzi o tą kolaborację z Porsche.
Before we recap the incredibly talented finalists in our Cyberpunk cosplay contest. We'll then wrap up today's episode with some news about Stadia. There is a lot to talk about. So?
Stadia to tak trochę martwa jest z tego co mi się wydaje. W Polsce chyba nadal nie ma. Także takie mało to ekscytujące i najwidoczniej jednak o radyjkach nie będzie nic. Być może będzie jeszcze jeden odcinek o muzyce, zobaczymy.
In a huge open world like Night City, you need a chill ride to get around fast. And in Cyberpunk 2077, there are tons of cool vehicles to choose from.
Get this! 4-liter engine, 6-cylinder, goes from 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds. You fucking believe that?
Przepraszam, to jest gameplay? O kurwa. Jak to wygląda dobrze, Jezu.
No nie? Fajnie w deszczu, no. W deszczu ta gra kurwa jednak wygląda.
Jesus Christ.
No już teraz może te samochody będą wyglądać naprawdę fajnie, jak robią oddzielną prezentację. Tylko też pytanie jak się będzie jeździć, bo nadal ten model jazdy po filmach ciężko rozkminić.
Yeah, it's not the size.
Słodkie, malutkie.
This class is mostly utility vehicles and low-end clunkers made for every pocket.
Hold on.
It's a wreck. My damn wreck.
Well, definitely no guy or girl mech.
If you need to impress, look to this class alone.
I'm putting my ride on the line. Either you match it in cash, or you can forget about the fight.
With these wheels, no expense has been spared, no thrill ignored. They're plush interior.
Mam wrażenie, że to może być podobne do Mafii 3 i system jazdy. Przynajmniej tak wizualnie.
Masterful engineering and practical design. Trucks and tanks for when you need power and brute force.
Hell of a machine. Neat beast. My pride and joy.
And these monsters are literally unstoppable.
Fajnie, że będą też jakieś większe. Wow.
These are for tunes who love the smell of exhaust and the roar of street wildlife. They're power.
Ale tak za bardzo słów tutaj nie będzie, a ja najbardziej słowy lubię.
Come on! I want to smell that choo-choo burn!
Whether it's street racing, running from the NCPD, or just showing off in the streets, with these high-powered beasts, you will have only respect.
Oh yeah, like that!
If you need speed and armor, the Hypercar class is for you. It means precise bodywork, built-in LiDAR arrays, and really expensive materials.
Imagine you're sitting on a pile of eddies. Probably less than 1,000 people in the world can afford the Erendite.
Not your typical urban vehicle.
Bo ja nie wiem, czy słyszycie, ale jak ktoś tam powiedział Arondite, czyli jakiś model samochodu albo marka, to będzie Arondite.
And original vehicles
No
are
backup.
not all you'll find in 2077. We also found room on our roster for some true automotive icons.
Floor it, V.
Wszystko spoko, ale gdzie dostanę konia?
Właśnie. Halo, czemu nie można jeździć konno?
I think it's fair to say we've come a really long way from Roach in The Witcher, so that there's a lot to talk about.
Yep, there's a lot to talk about. What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's start with the various classes of different cars, because in the video we saw there were things like economy and luxury vehicles. But can you tell us a bit more about their kind of design philosophy? What does each kind of class offer when people are driving them around Night City?
Absolutely. Depending on the variation of the car that you're either buying or stealing, depending on your flavor, yeah, you'll notice that they don't just look different, but they'll also drive different and feel different. If you're buying or stealing a nice fancy looking sports color version of a car, you'll notice that it drives, you know, faster, sounds a little bit more punchy and sporty than, for example, a junkier version of that same car. You know, it can have solar panels tied to the roof or some other pipes that are hot wiring some other, you know, cyberpunk components in your car. And, well, you know, if it looks cheap, it probably drives cheap too.
So it seems that not only do the cars look good on the outside, but there's an awful lot of detail on the inside as well. Things like the dashboard. So can you tell us more about that? Because I know if you find a Quadra Type 66 in the city, it's going to look totally different from the Quadra Type 66 that the gangs are driving out in the Badlands, both outside and inside.
Yep, definitely. If you're about to steal a very nice high-end car, for example, when you get in, you'll see the dashboard light up nicely, you'll see your dial indicators revving a little bit, but that may not exist for...
Jestem ciekaw, jak bardzo powtarzalne będą te kokpity właśnie w środku.
You'll find something that suits your needs.
So what about racing then? Will there be racing? Because I know people have been asking.
Yes, we're absolutely going to have several races in the game. Different locations, if you know you're going to be driving in the Badlands. Maybe bring a Nomad car, because it's just built to driving in the Badlands. But if you know you're going to be racing in Night City, just bring the hottest wheels you've got, because you're going to need all the power you can get. No matter where you're racing though, you need to bring a gun, because this is Night City and you never know what's going to happen.
Okay, so you talk about bringing cars then. Let's talk about like storing and calling cars, because we know people can steal them. But what if somebody's found a car and they absolutely love this particular one? Is there a way for players to kind of build that collection? And then how do they actually, you know, summon them?
Well, summoning cars works pretty much the same as you would summon Roach in The Witcher 3. Your transportation may or may not show up on a roof somewhere. But, you know, we're still working on fixing some bugs here and there. But yeah, if there's a car that you really, really like very much, if you can't wait to own a Quadra or a Type 66, you'll get a message from your fixer and says, hey, I've got a Quadra for sale for you, do you want to buy it? All you have to do is drive over, pay the money, and you've got your very own Quadra. Not to mention that every single vehicle that you buy, every single player vehicle, is absolutely unique in every way. It's got a unique interior, unique exterior, paint job. You know, it'll sound different, but it'll also handle different.
So in the video we did mention...
Czyli w takim razie trzeba będzie kupować tych ukradniętych, nie będzie się dało jakoś przechować.
What that actually is.
Of course. The car in question here is Johnny Silverhand's car. And Johnny Silverhand is, well, he's a big rocker boy and he needs some wheels to match. So we gave him a 911 Porsche from 1977, which means in 2077, Johnny's car is going to be exactly 100 years old.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. Personally, I think I'm going to try and balance being a super cool badass mercenary and driving a Mai, because I love that little car. I think I could do it, right? I could be cool and in a Mai.
Definitely. Mai is absolutely cool as long as you stay on the road and not on the sidewalk.
I'll try my very best. We'll see. In past episodes, we've said that music plays a huge part in bringing Night City.
O, czyli może jednak muzyka będzie.
Not just music. Our teams went to incredible lengths to recreate and capture the sounds that really bring these vehicles to life. I mean, they might have had some fun driving them, but I'm pretty sure that's just a perk of the job.
Generalnie to ja trochę próbowałem, też nagrałem sobie jeden dźwięk generalnie mojego samochodu, kiedy do DevLive robiłem dźwięki otoczenia. Oczywiście nie było to na takim profesjonalnym poziomie jak tutaj, bo po prostu wziąłem telefon i na podwórku przejechałem kawałek, ale...
attach a proper sound to the visual so that you have like a nice feeling or the nice vibe of the complete car. And then we moved on to organizing the whole thing. Early on, we made the decision that we are going to record on the racetracks, and then we are going to record cars in movement. We started cooperation with Tomek Choki, who is like very, very well-known racing driver in Poland. That's really a nice sensation when you're driving with a racing driver and then he pushes the car to the limits. Like you can feel the G's with the braking and tight cornering, and you can feel the car actually like bending the laws of physics. We wanted to record a broad spectrum of cars, so we started with the powerful muscle cars, and then we went to more screamy tuned V6s, inline 6s, and then we went to V10s. We wanted to grab the off-road cars. We of course grabbed some drift cars, just to have the more aggressive character in the cars. We had to assemble a sound group or a sound team that would make the placing of the mics process very, very fast, because we had plenty of cars to do in a short time span.
We had the team of mechanics from a rally team, and they helped us immensely. What they've done, they've allowed us to put the microphones into places that we wouldn't be able to access differently. Putting a mic right into the car, they helped us to...
Ja jestem ciekaw, kto to później przeglądał i wybierał ostatecznie dźwięki.
Microphones in the engine bay, 3 microphones in the exhaust, and 2 microphones in the car. Cars are very, very complex in terms of sound, and it's very difficult to get all the necessary components that you have to make it sound believable.
But we were trying to look for something that would give us the character of the engine.
Jestem ciekaw, czy będą jakieś próbki.
To czy Robert Kubica będzie w grze.
Jak se zrobisz w kreatorze postaci, to będzie.
Ostatni wyścig Robert Kubica. Tylko wiesz, pisaną tyłu jak na YouTube.
Engine that you could actually have in the nowadays car.
We didn't want the engines to be futuristic sci-fi-ish sounding. We want them much more organic, much more down to earth, something that would represent the combustion engine. And on top of that, we added small elements like the futuristic horns or like a futuristic UI of a car. It makes you feel like you are in a car of the future, and some car might talk to you, other car might have blips and bobs that will make you feel like you're in a futuristic vehicle.
We wanted to be very, very close to what Mike set up in the lore, and early on we decided to record Johnny's original car, which is Porsche 911 930 from 1977.
We recorded on dyno in control environment in a chamber. We could put Mike in very different places. Porsche 930 that we recorded is the only car really that will be really sounding like the real car in the real world.
Fajnie, że w takie, no po prostu takie detale, że oni robią, to jest wow.
We recorded more than 40 vehicles.
Not often do we record so many vehicles for a game that is not really a racing game.
Truth being told, this was the hardest part in my sound career, and I'm very, very proud of what we achieved with the sound team. This was something that we didn't do before, so creating the designs, creating the technology behind how the sound behaves, that's the best thing actually I ever did in my sound career.
Sorry za te powiadomienia z Facebooka, nie wiem dlaczego, pomimo że mam full screena na tym Twitchu, to one dalej się pojawiają, także sorry.
Troszkę
There
pojebany.
has been a lot of talk about cars so far, so let's take a look at another collaboration. This time with Johnny Silverhand. I mean Keanu Reeves.
Excuse me.
Okay, będzie z Keanu.
Travel.
Yeah.
Journey. Freedom.
No, you know, it's not like deeper.
Aż mi świnka pociekła. O Jezu, piękny człowiek.
Czyli Keanu jeździł na motorkach, co pewnie nagrywali dźwięki.
I'm Guard Hollinger.
I'm Keanu Reeves.
And we're here.
Keanu Reeves. Ty się nie musisz człowieku przedstawiać.
And we're doing some audio recording for Cyberpunk 2077. Arch Motorcycle is a custom production motorcycle company. What's unique about it is that the motorcycles are built on a production platform, but each one is designed to be able to be personalized for each customer.
When CD Projekt Red approached me about doing Cyberpunk 2077, they also spoke about integrating. They were fans of, or I guess people who worked at the company were fans of Arch Motorcycle, and so they broached the idea of creating kind of specialized Cyberpunk 2077 version of the Arch Motorcycle, and I thought that was a very fine idea.
Oho. Internet na szczęście żyje, bo teraz za każdym razem jak śmieję się, będę takie kurwa internet.
We have a motorcycle we've designed and we've been developing called the Method 143. So they sort of use that as a basis and then went further. So it has a totally different, crazy looking power plant.
We did a little customization.
It's good, I like it.
Today we're capturing sounds, getting some actual sounds of a power plant, drivetrain, and characteristics of the motorcycle, which I'm sure they will, have play with and stuff, but the source will be pure.
It has a sort of a racing engine in it compared to our production motorcycles. It has a dual exhaust system. And it sounds pretty...
Sounds good.
I could definitely blindfolded tell that that's the Method 143-ish sounding motorcycle, yeah.
Dziwny efekt jest strasznie na tej kamerze z trzeciej osoby. Nie wiem jak to się nazywa, ale takie, że widać poświatę po szybko poruszającym się obiekcie.
Be on a bike and hearing that, going through the city streets and getting into the madness and mayhem.
Tak, w ogóle jeszcze zobaczyłem po tytule, będzie postrzał znowu za Laną i też z Milesem Toddsem, który jest lead level designerem, także będzie można zostać posłuchać czegoś jeszcze więcej.
Talk about styles in Night City. Are you more kitsch or neo-militarism?
I'm all about metal. Mam nadzieję, że będzie dał jakieś tak skóry i w ogóle ubierać, fajnie by było.
Welcome to the brief authoritative history of Night City. This chapter is devoted to so-called styles, deeply linked with the history of the world, and a very important aspect of life in the city. You can find them everywhere. In cars, clothes, guns, implants. They are your war paint. As one of our sponsors says, it matters not if you're dead, as long as you're doing it in style.
The moves on this girl! Swoosh, swoosh! Slicing them up like sashimi!
4 visual styles are evident in the Night City of 2077, each with its own history, status, and features.
Nie ma nic takiego stricte pod metal.
Neon hair, illuminated tattoos, and chrome. Function comes second. Looks are what matter.
Here with you, and we got another day ahead of us in this city of dreams.
The Fourth Corporate War broke out, and entropism was born. Vast and deep crises forced people to find ways to survive by any means. Getting the job done, no matter how, was the primary goal. The look? Who cares?
I love this town. Love it like you might love a mother who popped you out on the steps of an orphanage once and now stops you to ask if you got a smoke for her.
Fuck them, fuck this job, fuck this city.
Deadly elegance without ostentation.
Ten neomilitaryzm jest spoko i na pewno pod korpo będzie pasować, także pewnie to będzie mój styl w Night City.
Substance over style. That's the motto.
Ja chcę wyglądać jak taki modern day assassin. Taki kaptur biały i takie elementy takie fajne.
Celebrities, braindance stars, business magnates, heirs to corporate fortunes and corporate executives. They abandoned the cold, deadly elegance of neo-militarism and returned to the roots of kitsch, but gave it a fresh, new look.
Oh shit, these hands. Sometimes it seems like I just brushed something and sparks fly.
No z tych wszystkich to ten neomilitaryzm to najlepsze, najbardziej mi się podobało.
We wish you a very pleasant stay in our marvelous metropolis. Good luck and goodbye.
NC's legends. Know where you'll find most of them? The graveyard. Luckily, matters not where you're from, matters not where you start. What matters here is the walk you walk.
O, coś czuję, że mój V coś w te klimaty może być. Tylko na pewno mój V będzie miał długie włosy. To 100%. Znaczy, bo w ogóle będę grał kobietą, to na pewno będzie miał długie włosy.
Just before this episode started, you might have tuned in early and seen our Cyberpunk cosplay contest.
O właśnie, ale to ci powiem, ja się nie zgadzam z wynikami i bardzo fajna rzecz była, która nie wygrała nic. A może zaraz pokażę.
In the Cyberpunk cosplay contest, we asked our very talented community to cosplay a character.
Czy był Cybergeralt?
Nie, bo to miały być postacie z gry.
Cosplay guides, etc. We thought regular trophies weren't quite cool enough, so we decided that the top 3 will receive detailed props based on weapons from the game. They have been specifically made for this occasion, and the winners can do with them as they please. And now, the 12 best Cyberpunk cosplayers who have competed for first place in the first official Cyberpunk 2077 cosplay contest. Are you ready to meet them?
Ciekaw, czy będą te same filmy co na początku. Wątpię, bo to by potrwało jeszcze drugie 20 minut generalnie. Gdyby pokazywali to, co było pokazane wcześniej, przed jeszcze tym odcinkiem. Podejrzewam, że będą tylko skróty. To już mogę ci powiedzieć, to jest pierwsze miejsce, tam to poprzednie to było trzecie miejsce. A drugiego miejsca nie pamiętam. A, pamiętam już, dobra, już wiem, które było kolejne. Znowu się kamerka rozfokusowała, o. O! Tam gościu mój, on powinien moim zdaniem wygrać, kurwa.
To nie wygrało?
Nie, egzoszkielet zrobił, nawet trzeciego miejsca nie ma.
Co do kurwy?
Właśnie też nie ogarniam tego.
Toż to...
Jebany egzoszkielet, gdzie tu normalnie tarczę sobie wyciąga,
I
wiesz.
I wszystko, Jezu, i twarz, ja pierdolę.
Także jestem bardzo zdziwiony, że tamten właśnie nie wygrał.
Zbrodniarze, cholerni.
Nie pamiętam, kto trzecie miejsce miał. Znaczy drugie, sorry. Zaraz powinien, znaczy będą zaraz pokazane te, które wygrały, ale moim zdaniem powinien wygrać właśnie ten z tym egzoszkieletem.
Before we wrap up today's episode, there is one more thing to talk about. Previously, we announced that Cyberpunk 2077 was coming to Stadia, and today we can tell you that it is
Ale nie miała, no nie wiem, już nie pamiętam.
alongside other platforms, and pre-orders are starting now. Night City Wire.
Okej, taka mały news.
If you do want just a little bit more, then stay tuned right here on the Twitch channel and join us for our post show. As always, don't forget that if you've missed anything or if you just want to watch again, we will be uploading everything to our channels shortly, and we'll be back with Night City Wire episode 5 soon. No, actually, there is one more thing we're going to show you. Welcome to the diner.
So what do you want? Supercar? Big house? You want to rule this city? Well, you ain't getting anywhere without an upgrade. You need a softer touch. Stronger's fine, because taking over Night City ain't gonna be easy.
I'm in. Cyberpunk 2077. Available November 9th.
Okej, nowy komercjal po prostu. Został tutaj pokazany, generalnie. No, także i jakieś tutaj promocje pewnie, bla bla bla.
O, fajnie.
No fajnie, także będzie jeszcze Pozdro. Ty na Pozdro nie zostajesz, jak
Nie,
rozumiem.
moja
Dobrze.
chora dupa już chce do łóżka.
Dobrze,
Daj kubeczek.
to pa.
Daj kubeczek.
W takim razie
Daj
ten kubeczek, proszę bardzo. Okej, i tu ma być właśnie również ten postrzał, nie wiem, o której się zaczyna. Teorii za chwilę. Zobaczymy.
To i dziękuję za przybycie. Do widzenia.
No, to Barcia sobie ucieka. Może to krzesło stąd wypieprzyć. Ja się ustawię bardziej na środku i poprawię trochę kamerę. Bardziej na mnie. Pewnie za bardzo. O, zdecydowanie za bardzo. O, gdzieś no teraz za mało. O, coś takiego. Wydaje mi się. Dobra, także ja tu już sobie poprawiam. I okej, odliczanie mamy. Niech tam coś jeszcze ze Spotify'a przez chwilę poleci, bo jest cicho bardzo. I zobaczymy sobie jeszcze to postrzał, znowu zalaną. I będzie Miles Stotz. Miles Stotz bardzo fajnie opowiada o grze. To prawda, nie tak fajnie jak Paweł Sasko, ale nadal. A ja sobie poczytam, co tu na mojej grupie klasowej pisali i co te powiadomienia spamiło odnośnie tych szkół całych, generalnie. No podobno będzie tak jak Bogdan wcześniej mówił, czyli 2 tygodnie w domu, 2 tygodnie w szkole. Zobaczymy. Okej, dobra. Starczy tej muzyki ze Spotify'a. I coś zjebali audio. Generalnie. Trochę musimy polibridować póki co Alanę i resztę. Dobra, czekajcie, wejdźmy na Twitch Gaming. Być może tutaj jest audio. Zobaczymy, czy oni to spieprzyli na streamie Redów. Nie, spieprzyli to na streamie Twitch Gaming. Dobra. That's a problem. Okej. No to trochę lipridowania, ale nie patrzyłem na to, co tam oni mówili za bardzo, także ciężko będzie. Niestety ja z czytania z ruchu ust nie jestem za dobry. Także miejmy nadzieję, że za chwilę to ktoś ogarnie. Tam ich techniczny. Podejrzewam, że oni mogą nawet nie widzieć czatu tutaj na streamie. Nie gra jakaś muza w tle. O, dobra. Akurat jak włączyłem muzę. Super.
Stuff. Yeah, however those work, magic. And you can also ask questions. So you can ask.
Okay, it sounds like our directors have just told us in here that we did not have audio at the very beginning. We should be okay now. I believe the problems have been solved. Hello everyone, I'm Alana, I'm joined by Jesse. We've already done this and spoken about how excited we are about cars.
Yeah.
Let me ask you again, Jesse, how can everyone who can now hear us, we figured it out, tech issues, get involved?
Well, first off, nice to hear from you. And it's nice to be heard. And, it's unfortunately no one heard my sad cries for help as I...
very offensive, so...
Right, I mean, yeah.
Glad we bleeped that.
Anyway, if you want to get involved today with the post show and you want to let people know what you're thinking, obviously there are polls on your screen right now. If you click there, you can answer whatever your vibe is, however you're feeling. If you have questions or comments, leave them in chat. We will grab a bunch of them and answer them to the best of our ability.
Okej, tylko podejrzewam, że to trzeba by robić na streamie Twitch Gaming. Także może wejdźmy sobie na Twitch Gaming. Generalnie. O, dobra, nawet przerzuciło nas bezpośrednio. To jest chyba czat tutaj. Okej, dobra, spoko. Zobaczymy.
Live here. So, you know, don't hold back. Let's do it all. Let's ask all the juicy questions we have left. But first off, let's just jump into our impressions of what we just saw here, Jesse. We definitely got a vehicle-heavy overview, or a vibe from this episode of Night City Wire. How are you feeling about the cars?
You know, I'm thrilled that there is a large variety of cars. I'm curious, and I definitely have a question for Miles when he comes on. I have a question
that is
about...
out, by the way, Miles tossed.
I have a question about, a long ago, it might have been Night City Wire, one of them, there was a thing that related to stats and the theft of cars, and I'm curious how that relates to the types of cars, right? So economy versus heavy versus a sporty car, how do your stats affect the theft of those things? I do not know, so I'm curious to figure that out.
It also just seems like you can have a lot of them. I remember talking to someone on the CD Projekt Red team not that long ago who said, you know, if you wanted to play the game as a person who just wants to collect all of the vehicles, in theory you could do that, but it would take you a ridiculous amount of time. So I'm like, seeing the variety of vehicles in this Night City Wire makes me more excited to see how different people play this game and the different approaches they have, what they want to collect, what kind of character they are, what kind of build they have, what they look like. I just feel like we're going to see a lot more variety than, you know, we could have in The Witcher, for example, because at the end of the day, still Geralt. No complaints, love Geralt, but not as diverse.
No tak, to prawda. I tym bardziej, że będą te 3 ścieżki, do których też pasują inne samochody, inne ubrania, także będzie jakiś tam wybór, jeśli o to chodzi też.
The way that you summon vehicles is virtually exactly the same as the way that you summon Roach, right?
Yeah.
Which is just D-pad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it also pings on the map if you park somewhere nearby. It'll be like, hey, your car's right over here. You left it in the middle of the street, right where you left it. And when you get back, everyone's like, what are you doing? Look, I had to go kill a guy, but I'm back now.
Priorities, man. But yeah, it's very cool that basically if you want to summon it to you, yeah, you just, I think it's down or up on the D-pad, and it'll just drive around a corner and just wait for you. Just like I've always wanted vehicles to do, really. Just automatic driving.
I jeszcze trochę i tak będziemy mieli w prawdziwości. Elon to ogarnie.
I can kill someone with a well-timed car summon or something like that.
I would be almost positive you could. Well-timed for sure, yes.
Well, let's work on that. But for anyone who missed it, there are multiple car classes, including the executive, heavy-duty, sport, hypercars. They also have real-life cars in the game, in addition to all of their unique vehicle types. And cars are different in different parts of the gameplay. We saw a fair amount of variety, and it looks like a lot of customization. That's what it looks like. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, in chat, what vehicle class are you most excited for? There's a poll going right now, if you would like to let us know. There are many to choose from, and in each category, it looks like there are, like Lana was saying, a lot of different cars, and probably a lot of things you can do to mess with them, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we also got some information about street racing, which is a thing I didn't think that I knew before today. I don't think if I was aware of that, or maybe I missed it somewhere. When I played the game, I think you and I played on the same build, Jesse. I know they were still tweaking driving. They had mentioned that, you know, they were considering going with something that felt a little bit like Forza Horizon versus something that felt maybe like GTA. I don't remember, that's not a quote, so don't quote me, but they were just playing with different driving styles in game, and I was like, I'm very interested to see how whatever they end up going with, however it is tuned, ends up feeling in street races, because, you know, the way that a car feels, very important, because I've been playing GTA for years and still don't particularly enjoy street races. Forza Horizon, on the other hand, love it. So it's a good way to spend time. I always enjoy a street race. Very curious what the driving is going to fully end up feeling like, and how competitive it's going to be, and, you know, how much can I bring my custom vehicle to it? Is it going to be class-based? Like, how intense is this stuff going to get, I wonder?
And when they stick you in the driver's seat and you have that view and perspective, I think the idea of feel is important, because you're in it, right? You're in the seat, and so it's a little bit...
No właśnie, ja generalnie na pewno będę jeździł z pierwszej osoby, to jakby nie ma w ogóle pytań, żeby już zostać w tej pierwszej osobie, jak najbardziej się wczuwać w grę. Także jestem naprawdę jestem ciekaw, bo to jednak będzie ważna część tej gry, żeby dobrze się tym jeździło.
And the way they did the sound engineering, I thought that was phenomenal because I think at the end of the day, having all of those microphones, the whole idea is you probably shouldn't realize that they have all those microphones. It just feel like you're in a car. Everything you would hear in a car, so you wouldn't notice, right? It's one of those weird things where good sound design is just like, oh yeah, well that's just how that sounds. Right?
I love the nerdy sound design stuff. Like, I love seeing people do those jobs and do them well. I think it's so cool. We did just have a question on screen from, I think, Vanilla Latte. What's the name of that? Respect. Again, that's my drink of choice. You gotta get a Vanilla Latte. Who was asking if they think that we'll have to wager before we go into races. And I think that's an interesting question because it could tie into the economy in a really interesting way, which is a part of RPGs that I tend to really enjoy is, like, how do you get around the economy? Something that I've enjoyed since the original Fable, where you were buying houses or visiting traders at different point in time and, like, playing with the stock market. I think that stuff is really fun, and it's definitely a way that you can make money is if you can basically wager on yourself in a street race versus every other vehicle available. That stuff takes a little while to learn and obviously depends on your skill, but in this case could also depend on how customized every other car is, which, I don't know, could get pretty crazy.
Yeah, I would love, I think, you know, that is definitely a dev question. Something we should ask because I truly don't know. Yeah,
Jestem ciekaw, kiedy Miles przyjdzie do nich.
But yeah, as we were talking about where sound design is concerned, like, I've seen a few BTS videos of people doing that with, like, Call of Duty, and how extensive they get with the amount of microphones that are involved.
Się rozdrapałem na nosie, także będę musiał sobie tutaj trochę krew ścierać, także sorry.
Part of their job, as I think Holly joked about, is like, you guys just get to drive around in sweet cars after rigging up some microphones. That seems
tak, a później przeglądać te 10 000 nagrań z każdego mikrofonu, wybrać te najlepsze, zmiksować je, wrzucić do gry i tak dalej. Ekscytujące w chuj.
I was surprised by the note in this that they said they wanted them to sound like real combustion engines rather than necessarily future tech. I like that. What do you think, Jesse?
Well, I mean, I think that's the vibe of Cyberpunk in general. Is that...
No właśnie, bo w tamtych czasach to jest taka przyszłość, ale no przyszłość z lat 80., a nie przyszłość z teraz.
I mean, you're right. You're right. But only corpos roll around in those because they're amazing.
Yeah.
But for most people, the vibe is you're not going to have that luxury. You're not going to have cars that sound like beep, 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 beep. I guess that's a future car sound. I don't know.
Yes, very luxury. They beep, 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 beep,
beep, beep, beep. Yeah. But what you are going to have is the gritty, nasty, we are just scraping to get by. I mean, Johnny's car is 100 years old. Like, that kind of thing. Where, you know, you have this future that isn't as polished as Night City wants it to be. And most people are having to, you know, sort of rig their cars with what's available. And I love the idea that, look, combustion engines are still a thing. And this is what we deal with.
We hate the environment, but we love the sound. We did get results from one of the polls we just ran here. 66% of you guys said you are most excited for hypercars. I feel like that makes sense.
Agreed. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, checks out. A very inoffensive 66% that everyone agrees with. Yeah, I feel like I don't know what I'm most excited for yet because I really want to, like, feel it, you know? Just gotta understand.
No tak, no generalnie to nie ma co się jakoś bardzo podniecać, tylko trzeba zobaczyć te samochody już w praniu.
I'm still trying to figure out the benefit of 6 wheels versus 4 when driving through this. I love how they started showing cars, and every so often it'd be just a 6-wheeled car, and I'm like, what are those extra wheels for?
Dirt. Nomads. Maybe.
A lot of dirt.
Terrains and that.
We have a question.
No, generalnie to, nie wiem, z przodu raczej to nie ma sensu. Z tyłu widziałem kiedyś malucha na 6 kółkach, także...
Quite a question. That's a hot question.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out, right?
My biggest thing with that particular question is, look, I myself have made comparisons to GTA already in this post-show, but Cyberpunk 2077 is an RPG, and I think that's the thing that I keep wanting to remind people is like it's actually not a GTA clone in any way. It's an RPG. It's a very, very, very extensive RPG that's highly customizable. It is all about dialogue choices or choosing not to engage. You have the option to just not respond to people if you want to. Seeing where those paths take you. I mean, even every mission that you do, you can do from a completely different order to someone else. I think one of the main missions that we've seen in previous gameplay where you go to the Maelstrom sort of hive base has, I believe it was like over 5 different outcomes. I got one where I managed to avoid fighting anyone because I managed to get the 2 sides who were involved there to fight each other. So it is a lot more of an RPG. It is about your V and how you take on Night City, which is obviously very...
I to jest bardzo fajne, generalnie. Bo ja shooterów nie lubię, szczególnie FPS-ów.
necessarily, being that they are both based on, well, in 5 at least, GTA, both based on the West Coast, California, basically. So that part of it, I think, will feel similar. I don't know that I can tell you if it's going to be better than GTA, but it is a very different game, and I always want to just remind people they're very, very different things. Let's know that.
So, I think we definitely need to talk about the special nature of Johnny Silverhand's car, and the fact that they went out and were like, all right, what is the car this man would drive? And they're like, well, we're going to pick a Porsche, and we're going to make it the coolest looking. It's so ridiculous that when you look at it compared to everything else in the game, I'm impressed by the fact that they're giving not only him his own style, but everything about him his own style. And
yeah.
I'm thrilled that they decided to go with 100 years. I don't know why that's great. I don't know why, but I love it. It's a detail that is unnecessary, but is fantastic. What do you think about this?
Oh, I think it's cool because like he very much seems like a punk rock guy in this world. I don't know that. Look, as a person who was driven a Porsche 911, this car specifically is a 1977 Porsche 911 Turbo, which I believe the slang for is Porsche 930. I have driven those. They're beautiful. I don't know that I would have chosen that for Johnny Silverhand personally. I don't know if that's what I would have gone with. I feel like maybe I would have done something a bit more...
No się na pewno będzie wyróżniać, ale mi się za bardzo nie podoba te Porsche.
About a Porsche 911. I love it though. I think it's so cool. I agree the 100 years thing is awesome. Like, it seems like a thing that this particular character would do. He seems old school. He just comes across that way. Obviously the lead singer of a popular band before seemingly becoming a chip in V's head, which for the record, Jesse and I, our gameplay, we did not have Johnny Silverhand talking to us at all. I think that was like probably just beyond what we played. So maybe my guess is that you get Johnny Silverhand maybe like 5 hours in?
Yeah.
6 or so? I don't know.
He's kind of a mystery, in not only in the game, but also character-wise, right? He's a guy who is anti-war. He definitely has this sort of like rebel vibe, but at the same time, it's kind of like burn it all down. So
yeah.
It's great to see these different aspects of him as a character, and hopefully they are developed more and more as you go through the game, so that you as a player who may not be familiar with the lore of the Cyberpunk universe get to kind of experience who this dude is. I hope that comes through.
I saw someone in chat said he seems like a Mustang guy, the Salabo. I'm like, I kind of agree with that. I probably would have gone with a Mustang, but hey.
No, Mustang już mi się bardziej podoba niż ten Porsche.
Yeah, also, I mean, like, chat, what are your reactions to the car? Besides us talking, there's a poll right now. You can tell us in chat what you think, and I believe there should be more information coming soon about that, so stay tuned.
Exciting stuff. You know what I love? Information. Great stuff. Love to see it. So we've already spoken about his car, but let's jump into just the Keanu Reeves involvement in this particular Night City. Why? It's always nice to see him. It's nice to see him. Just look, see in his face. You know?
He always has this look of just like, man, I'm just excited to be around. I'm just happy people want to talk to me. I don't know why.
In general.
I'm like, oh, Keanu.
There is something about Keanu Reeves that I feel like he just sort of at some point became a darling that we all love and must protect.
Tak, prawda. W 100% się zgadzam z Alaną.
look sad in this. He seemed actually really excited, which is very cool. Obviously combining some of Keanu Reeves' passions here. I mean, I don't know how passionate he is about video games, actually. But I know he thinks we're breathtaking, and I know he likes motorbikes.
That is what I've heard.
It's so cool to see him. Was this the ad that played... It's the one that has him sort of live action in it. I think it recently played at a sports, I believe, Jesse. It played
at a sport, you say?
Yes.
It was all over the TV not too long ago, and it is the first big wave of ads for the game. But if you know anything about Keanu, you know that for years he has been a motorcycle dude. This is like his passion. He loves to ride, and as someone who is incredibly terrified of the open road and nothing between me and it.
It makes sense to me that you feel that way. That checks out with what I know about you as a person.
Yeah, I'm like, look, I think they're amazing, but I don't know that I'd ever be on one. Yeah.
Someone in chat said Keanu Reeves is our modern Jesus. Don't at me. Well, I added you in front of everyone, so... But I buy it. There's something about him, you know? He's just... There it is on screen.
O właśnie, ja sobie w sumie jeszcze przełączę audio w międzyczasie, bo tu mam 10 000 przejściówek, a już mojego brata nie będzie.
Arch Motorcycles, who had a collaboration, I guess, with him for this project to bring an Arch motorcycle into the game, which, yeah, is extra cool. It's like a cool collaborative effort beyond him, you know, being the character of Johnny Silverhand. He actually gets to have ultimately one of the bikes his company has worked on in the game. I think that's awesome, and I'm loving the vehicle variety. It's tremendous. I feel like it's going to take ages to...
To jest generalnie liczba przejściówek, jakie muszę użyć, żeby ogarnąć audio dla nas dwóch. Tu jest jeszcze jedna. Także no.
It's nice stuff. I got called out here. Someone said Porsche over Mustang any day. It's fair.
A lot of people saying their first playthrough is going to be non-lethal. I think that's a solid choice. It'll be a long playthrough. You'll have to come up with great strategies on how to do stuff, but solid advice, yeah. Stay tuned, by the way, because we have a live AMA with senior level designer Miles Tost, who's going to answer your questions, so get them ready, and we will hit him up with, you know, if you have questions about doors, I hear he's really good at answering questions about doors. I feel like that is his specialty, so... If you're
we
ready.
have heard that. Very excited. Don't know what it means, but very excited to learn more.
Yeah.
Before we talk to Miles, get your questions ready, everyone. Let's talk about some of the visual styles of Night City. We have seen this...
W sumie tak naprawdę ja czekam na tego Milesa trochę. Myślałem, że więcej zrobił tego Q&A, a mniej takiego reaction, ale no dobra. Niech będzie.
I'm still always impressed. What they show in the trailers and in the different Night City wires and things, it's only a fraction. Having driven around it, having seen the city itself, like we just saw there on the screen, it's huge. And there's a lot of different areas to explore and to see and to get lost in. And visually, things from, you know, discovering the cool Chinatown area, like the visuals there are awesome. To going to some of the like real, I don't want to say seedy because it's supposed to be corpo, so everything seems very polished and neat, but you know, like underneath it all, it's grimy. The different areas of town that the neon, the use of just the way they created the buildings, right? Even the buildings have a vibe, like a future vibe, but also kind of still rooted in reality. Everything about this city is amazing, and just exploring it is fun. Someone earlier before the stream started asked if there were other ways that I should explore the city besides just driving, and I was like, look, driving's great, but you may just want to get out and walk, and just walk through the city and see things from that perspective, because that too is really neat.
Yeah, one thing that I really like about it is when it comes to exploring the city as well, that we found out at the end of the last Night City Wire, is that all of the streets will have names, street signs, meaning that it should be very easy for you to actually tell other people where you are, instead of being like, well, I did this quest, it was called this. You should be able to be like, oh, I was on this street, the one with this restaurant, and I love the idea of that, and that translating into the real world. But this
Prawda, to jest bardzo, bardzo fajne.
The visual styles, they are kitsch, entrism, neo-militarism and neo-kitsch. And this is a thing that I've been saying since the first time that I even really saw the game, but definitely when I first played it. So many of the NPCs have such dramatically different styles. Like
Tam na billboardzie był majonez. What the fuck?
Unique. The way people are dressed, the colors, the way they've dyed their hair. Like this neo-kitsch here is like seems like what the celebrities kind of do. It's just everyone you see on the street is a completely different looking human. I'm sure realistically there have to be some doubles. That's in theory that has to be a thing, but just dudes wearing skirts with green mohawks and nobody cares, and it's super cool. Like I really love the visual variety of just the characters that you walk around and getting a little bit more information about these distinct styles and where they come from. Like I wonder if as we're playing we will hear more about, you know, the origins of different particular styles. Like we know that entrism specifically is about not caring at all about the way that you look, which I
Nie wiem, co jest z tym Twitchem generalnie, dlaczego on tak czasami zamula. Neta mam, nic nie ma problemu, on za chwilę powinien działać z powrotem dokładnie. Nie wiem, dlaczego tak się dzieje.
So I think that just the attention to detail, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's overwhelming and I love it.
A poll result already is that 39% of you say that you prefer neo-militarism as a style.
O, jestem w większości. Dziękuję.
It looks future, it looks like what you'd expect in a world like this. However, have you really taken a look at neo-kitsch? Because that is where I'm going. Everything I do.
Nie, zdecydowanie neo-militaryzm. Zdecydowanie.
And what do I need to do to make that happen? It's just, that's where I'm gonna be.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you can customize your look. Someone in chat asked if you could give a male via skirt. I can't see why not. I imagine you can. But hey, we do have someone that we can ask. We've got joining us from CD Projekt Red, Miles Tost. Just about to join us any second now. We'll jump in.
To, nie tost, tylko tots. Chyba.
Hey!
Hey!
A nie, to jest Miles Tost. Okej. To ja źle w ogóle pamiętam jego nazwisko.
I just watched the episode, I think, like for first time in full. You know, not just the bits and pieces, and actually it's really nice to see it all come together.
I imagine, yeah, it's very, very cool stuff. So we've got a lot of broad questions today, but just for everyone in chat so that they know, what do you specialize in? What specifically can you speak to where the game is concerned?
Yes, so I'm one of the level designers working on the game, and previously I worked on Witcher 3, and then I think after Blood and Wine I switched to...
Anulowano pobieranie filmu, co jest kurwa? Żadnego filmu nie pobierałem, panie Twitchu, proszę mi się tu ogarnąć.
Locations that you will visit during quests, right? We've been working closely with our dear colleagues, the quest designers and many other departments to make sure that the narrative is supported in these and that all the tools that you as a player have at your disposal, right? The cyberware that you have, the different skills you can invest in, and that you can actually use them on the level.
We appreciate that for sure. So anyone who has any questions about level design, feel free to ask us. We will throw some of your questions to Miles here. But I guess I really wanted to ask, because we've touched on it a little bit today, if you can speak to it, how much of an understanding of just playing through the game of these different styles will we get? Are there different regions where people dress more kitsch than other regions? Is this something that is actually built into the level design, or is it more passive than that?
It's actually something we built the world on, really. It's something that we really thought about a lot. I think one of the graphics you kind of see that we just show like this timeline, this roadmap going through, right? And we actually really sat down and came up with the history of how these styles, you know, sort of affected the world and how they evolved from one into the other. And for us, it really helped us sort of define the looks of the city. All these styles come attached with certain demographics, right? Certain social classes, right? The entropy is for generally something you would see in poorer areas, whereas the neo-kitsch one, of course, that's something that the super rich afford for themselves. And for us, it was really cool, you know, if you, for example, start making cars or any of the designs, you know, like the devices is what I wanted to say, right? Like a phone or anything, then you can always look at this and go, okay, how would this device look like in the same in the different art styles, right? So how would the cell phone look as an entropy phone? How would it look in a neo-kitsch version, right? And you'll see these with things even like the vending machines in the city, right? And that allows the player to always kind of gauge in what part of city or what kind of environment he's in, right? In a rich corpo area, you'll not find any entropic looking vending machines, for example, right? And again, in terms of world building, this has been tremendously valuable for us because it was something that really allowed us also to communicate about what we wanted to do in certain areas.
Miles, this is less of a question and more of a demand, I think. Chat wants to know, Miles, doors, explain!
Oh my god. All right. Yeah, I always feel a bit bad about bringing this up because it seems like something that only I have done, right? There's barely anything in the game's development that only one person has done. There's always multiple people doing something, right? So it's hard to kind of claim credit for one thing. But this term actually comes from my dear friend Fabian, our German PR guy, who's actually sort of been trolling me at the beginning a lot by mentioning that I've had to work a lot on the doors in Witcher 3, and it actually derived from one certain bug that I told him about, which he kind of blamed on me happening, which was in Blood and Wine. There was this moment where we had this bug where we somehow, for random reasons, the doors just always opened after a certain moment in the game, even the ones that were supposed to be locked, so you could go into houses and drop underground and all that.
Słyszałem tą historię, że się wszystkie drzwi w grze otwierały po jakiejś tam scenie.
Then I've sort of turned into the door guy. Fabian has made his quest to make this a thing, and in Cyberpunk, as a level designer, you can't avoid working with doors. So actually the level design team was the one team that sort of went around setting up all the doors, making sure that this one is locked, this one is not locked, this one you can break open with your Gorilla Arm cyberware, right? And all of these properties. So that's the story about that. So if you need to know anything about the doors in the game, they too, by the way, come in the different art styles, right? You can ask me, and level design is sure to be able to help you out with any door-related matters.
Just truly the one
Tam
of the
wcześniej
least...
widziałem fajne pytanie na tym tutaj, które wyskoczyło. Czy drzwiami można zabić?
Yeah.
Mam nadzieję, że zadadzą to pytanie.
The interesting thing about doors, as is, you know, with many things in video games, is that something that seems so simple, something that players just, you know, that walk past, they don't really acknowledge it in ideal cases, is something that to us designers can pose a huge challenge, right? It's something where we have meetings upon meetings on to decide on what properties these doors kind of have, how the player can react with them, and how it might fuck up our quests, right? When, you know, a door doesn't work.
It's so funny to think about, but you're absolutely right. We appreciate you. Thank you for making nice doors for us. We do have to pivot. We've got a question here from Voldemort Fuse that said, tell us about weather effects and day-night cycles. Question mark. This is a question, not a demand.
Yeah. Sure. So, like in our previous games, Cyberpunk also features a fully dynamic day and night cycle, right? Which is amazing to see, you know, because you actually can witness the city going from daytime into nighttime, right? The amount of people on the streets changing and all that, and of course, all the lights turning on, right? Cyberpunk is something that is deeply associated with neon lighting. I actually have one here in the back. I decided to turn it off after I realized it's way too bright on the camera. But, you know, it's everywhere. And just seeing that transition is really, really nice. And for us, it was also something really cool to kind of break open this association of Cyberpunk with the night, right? Because the city and our game world also exists during daytime, right? And in some parts, one might...
Ale jednak ta gra najlepiej wygląda w nocy. No, jak bardzo by nie chcieli, żeby w dzień też to wyglądało fajnie, to jednak dzień się nie umywa do nocy.
Yeah, of course, we also have a weather system that people even react to, right? They'll take out umbrellas when it starts raining, and of course you'll also see puddles forming on the streets, right? That will go away when the sun comes back out. There's quite a bit of cool technical eye candy stuff happening that really sells the idea of this world actually being alive, right? And it's actually to the point where I don't even know what my favorite combination of time of day and weather really is, because there's always one spot in the city that, you know, will look amazing in one version or the other. And yeah, I can't wait for everyone to actually be able to roam the city and see that.
Hell yeah.
Blood Artist wants to know, are there any areas that are only accessible with the double jump mechanics or cybernetics?
Oh, that's a really good question to ask a level designer, and I should probably know, right? I actually don't know if we have lots of areas where it's completely blocked off to other players if they don't have double jump, but we do certainly have moments where people with double jump are able to take shortcuts and benefit from being able to access higher ground, right? Be that to be able
high ground, zawsze high ground, tylko high ground.
Do an aerial takedown, right? Or to be able to reach certain places faster and more easily than other playstyles. With the game being so big, I will say that I personally, I don't know every single nook and cranny, which is, you know, great thing for me when I eventually get to play it. So we level designers and also like like all the other teams, we are able to surprise each other with the stuff that we kind of put into the game. So I wouldn't be surprised to find that, you know, maybe a colleague of mine was able to actually, or somehow, you know, in an open world activity, put some loot that can only be accessed via double jump and so. It's all part of our mission to, you know, make the skills that you actually invest in and the character that you build feel worthwhile, right? If there's no spots to double jump on, what point is there to get the double jump, right? And
sure.
yeah, we always want to make it so that it feels worthwhile what you invested in.
We've got another question here from Sidrek. It says, it's clear we can steal cars, but do we get to store and keep them indefinitely?
This is actually something I would like to answer a bit more broadly, because Jesse, I remember you asked about a question, or you wanted to ask about a question, right? Look at that.
Really?
So if I remember correctly, you wanted to know, can you maybe ask that one as well so I can tie it into this one?
Yeah. So the question that I had for you was, you know, we have economy cars and executive cars and heavy cars and sporty and hyper. I think that's all of them, and motorcycles. And we have all these variety of cars, and I know that in a previous Night City Wire, there was talk about how the RPG elements, the stats you have, affect your ability to, like, you know, you can rip the door off a car if you're jacked. What is the sort of mechanics with all these different types of car? Like, RPG mechanic-wise, breaking into a car that is a heavy car versus an economy car, what is the difference there? Is it just as simple as, like, well, you have the stat to unlock a car, so you got it, or is there layers to that? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so, as you said, Cyberpunk is an RPG, right? So stats are important, and, like, when the player actually starts out the journey, they won't just be able to steal any car, because essentially you're not good enough. You need to learn, right? And this is
A to jest akurat fajne, że niektóre rzeczy będą zablokowane na początku. Takie w open worldzie.
Experience, right? Of traversing the city. So, you'll have to invest some skill points in either your strength attribute, which is the body attribute, right? Or your technical knowledge, to be able to break into cars. One is a stat that you'll mostly use if you want to yeet people out of their cars while they're driving, right? That's the strength one. And the other one is for cars that are parked, right? For the ability to break into it. However, we don't really do much layering beyond that, simply because it's you know, like you learn the skill, and then you're good enough to be able to break into this. It's sort of part of, you know, V's journey and becoming like a better and better mercenary, right? Now, as for the question that was asked about whether I get to keep my stolen cars, the answer is no, you actually don't get to keep your stolen cars, but you can drive around with them. And the good news is that you'll be able to basically any car that you might want to steal, you'll also be able to acquire it in other ways, right? And then...
Okej, to jest fajne, że nie będzie jakichś może takich specjalnych samochodów, które są tylko na przykład na misjach, tylko będzie można je dostać po misji.
Like the car will just drive up to your position, but with multiple cars you actually have like a little drop-down menu even if you want to decide which car it is or which vehicle, because we also have bikes that will drive up to your position that you can then go on a car ride with.
Just like Roach, I love it. We have another question here from Dwezzle, who said, how much customization is there for vehicles, colors, decals, and performance?
Yeah, so while we don't really have that much customization...
Tam było pytanie jakieś od kogoś, kto miał sypkę Lesbian Overlord. Jestem ciekaw, czemu go nie zadali. Nie pamiętam, jakie ono było.
So basically you'll be able to acquire and pick like different variations of the same type of car, and as Paul mentioned in the Night City Wire episode, they also drive differently, right? So it really depends on what kind of a type of car you will want to have, even of a specific, how do you even call it, type, that it really depends on you. And I mean, you know, some of the cars there it's kind of like for example the Porsche, right? That's like a car that's yeah, when you get it in the game, I think it's something that, you know, like is nice as it is. It has some history. We actually just didn't randomly pick, you know, Porsche to work with us, but the car is actually, you know, like it's actually part of the original lore. That Johnny was driving a Porsche car in around the 2020s. I'm not actually exactly sure which time. So that's where that connection is, right? And I think it's really important to sort of mention that, you know, there's intent behind it. You know, there was lots of thoughts that went into it, and we're super happy, of course, that you'll be able to basically drive Johnny's original car.
Hell yeah.
Going back to customization, Tom BSV wants to know, can we mix styles as in outfits? Is the outfits, or like, you know, is it full body things, or will we be able to mix pieces of clothing?
We actually have both. So, you know, you'll be able to mix clothing to your heart's content, but occasionally you might have to wear a specific outfit, right? You know, to dress for the occasion.
O, to jest fajne, że gra będzie wymagać. To było fajne w Kingdom Come Deliverance zrobione, że na niektóre okazje trzeba było się specjalnie ubrać, żeby na przykład jakiś quest wyszedł. Fajnie, że to będzie też w grze.
A little bit of both, really. But ultimately, point is
we could sort of touch on that. Jesse and I had to change to do a mission in a corporate structure. So there was an instance where, like, Hitman style, I had to get changed to infiltrate a building.
Right.
So I assume that's the kind of thing you're alluding to.
Exactly.
Very cool. Sorry that I cut you off there. We have another question from the Raging Canadian. Are the flying vehicles available to players?
You won't be able to own one and drive around it freely, because that would give me and my colleagues all sorts of nightmares. It would ramp up the amount of content we would create beyond what we've already created quite a bit, right? There's a lot of design questions that you would need to ask if you made flying vehicles available to the player. However, on the occasion, you'll be able to enter a flying vehicle and go on a trip with it. And yeah, that's mostly like a quest thing, though. And these moments are kind of special. Even, you know, like, especially also, I guess, lore-wise, if you will, flying cars are not something that is really available to the general masses, right? It's something that only the super rich people have, kind of like private jets nowadays, right? So, yeah.
You guys don't have private jets?
No, something.
Showboat.
Level design, they say. It will be fun, they said, right? My mom, I should have listened to her.
Is that Chobo? Chobo 20? I can't see if that's an E in my eyes. Chobo. Chob. Thank you. Chob 22. What is the in-game music like? Are there radios in cars, and can you change the music?
So I think this is something I'm not actually quite sure if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, or if this is something we're still keeping a bit as a surprise. And I don't think I have any means right now to figure out if I can. So I'll, when in doubt, say a bit less on this. But yeah, we sort of already,
Zajebiste pytanie, gdzie jest Cybertruck?
What was it? Stanley Media sort of talking over, like greeting everyone, hello, Night City, right? So there's definitely something we're doing. You can guess what that is. But for sure, lots of energy actually went into making the music, and something that I find that is really, really cool is that and it sounds a bit like I'm insulting our composers now, but sort of they have opted to have like very little music when you're just walking around the city, right? There's very little ambient music, so mostly you'll have lots of the sort of city sounds, right? You'll hear the audio of the
To jest fajne nawet, że jakby muzyka będzie, to coś jak w Watch Dogsach 2, myślę będzie coś w tym stylu.
Kicks in cool story moments to underline that, right? Appropriate to the situation, but also of course in combat. And one thing that I find that is really cool is that most gangs actually have their own sort of combat music as well, right? Which sort of helps define the districts and the whole world again, right? And you'll be able to more easily understand who you're fighting, and it really allows the tone, of the combat to become really consistent and nice. Yeah.
People don't realize how important those things are until you turn it off. Like until you turn all the sound off, and then you're like, oh, there's so much atmosphere that goes into that stuff. It's awesome.
And one thing that's particularly magical to me, is like I remember very well the first moment I went into a club in Night City, right? Like the moment of walking up to it, then hearing the music or the bass from inside, heavily muted. Then you go in through the first door, right? You're at the reception area. It's a bit louder. Things are like, you still have the muted bass, and then finally you enter the club room and, then are immersed in the club music. And it really helps having, actual music playing in that with the many collaborators that we have working on the project.
Yeah, I can't wait. That atmosphere from even the bits that I played were awesome, and I guess this, I think, was related to the question we were just asked, but I was able to change the radio in the car. So if that's the thing people care about, I was able to do that.
Wow, you're right. We actually showed that. I forgot that we did like a hands-on.
It's okay, I respect
all this mystery and secrecy for nothing. Yeah, okay, there's a radio. You can change the channels. We have different musical channels. You know it. There you go.
Nice.
There was a question on screen that just disappeared from By Odin's Bionic Beard. I think I got that, who asked if there are any... Thank you. If there are any puzzles or platforming in the game.
Yeah, certainly. There's some moments. We have double jump, right? And and another one we call the charge jump, right? They're quite similar, but they work differently in the mechanics, right? And of course we try to sort of incorporate that. And as I said, we when we have platforming segments, it's mostly to sort of allow players to move places faster and get into positions that might be favorable to them, maybe a sniper position, right? But we always also need to consider that there is a variation of the game where a player might not have the double jump or anything, right? And we don't want them to just be able to to completely get stuck, right? So always need to consider, okay, if there's a player without double jump and he needs to get there because Jackie, the quest NPC, is waiting over there, we can't just block him, so we need to kind of find a way around. And
no, to jest ciekawe i czasami wpadają na te kombinacje, to jest masakra, jeśli chodzi o design czegokolwiek, także...
So maybe this player can hack, so they can use a device on the level to kind of create a path, right? Or maybe this player can't hack, but they're a strong solo, so they can break open the door with sheer force and then progress up a staircase. And then, of course, what if a player has none of all of this? We also need to consider that. And then usually we try to opt and make that sort of the longer path, right? And so it's always possible. but it might be the more challenging or the more difficult approach. And using your skills, you might end up finding a more clever way of doing something.
I feel like the team here is messing with me, Alana, because you're getting like Odin's bionic beard names, and I have Puffy to Jarks.
Look, there
so
was
of course
one
I'm
before.
gonna mess that up.
I did want to give a shout out to one before that came up that was Lesbian Overlord, and I was like, nice.
To właśnie to, co ja mówiłem.
Jarks wants to know, is there going to be some sort of special car or special loot, like one in a playthrough thing, like a DeLorean or some collectibles?
Yes.
Excellent.
There you go, Puffy.
I guess related, the question Lesbian Overlord asked was, where is the Cybertruck? Have you guys ever spoken to Elon Musk about anything?
I don't think we have.
O, nie będzie Cybertrucka? Nie. Serio?
Alright, this is another one from Salibo. Can we rob people of their cybernetics or body parts? Can you steal people's enhancements?
This is actually like this is something that really took us a long time to figure out and where we stand with it. Ultimately, we decided that you'll be able to loot cybernetics in some scenarios, right? They're like a special case scenarios. It's not like we always had this thought about, is it okay for us to allow V to be like the butcher of Night City and walk around and collect people's body parts, essentially? And yeah, but then you also have to kind of figure out, okay, but then how do you acquire cyber? Is it only through buying it, right? Or is there different ways? Can we make it cool when it comes to like open world exploration, right? Can we provide it as a reward somehow? And yeah, we had to sit down and come up with ways of doing that. So the short answer would be yes, you'll be able to loot cyberware.
Ale tylko w niektórych przypadkach. No dobra.
Dead body?
Yeah, I suppose you'll have to see when the game comes out how we actually ended up solving that.
Curious. Alright, well, we need to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us, Miles.
Szkoda, jeszcze bym posłuchał.
Some of the stuff that you've designed, I guess, is there anything before you head off that you can call to that we should look out for, you know, if we want to see Miles' specific design in the game? Anything you're particularly proud of?
Yes,
That you're allowed to
but
talk about.
I can't talk about it before the game
Excellent.
has come out.
Excellent.
You know, we'll meet again and have a chat about it.
Alrighty, well, people can
quest
find you on
designs will be
Twitter,
very
I
sad.
believe. Yeah, well, hey, we've seen some of your work, I'm sure. It all looks amazing. I believe people can find you on Twitter at it's Toast Spender. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
It's a toast spender.
Oh, it's much nicer when you say it. As an Australian, I just sound like an idiot. Tossed spender, mate. You made it much nicer. But yeah, if anyone has any extra questions for Miles, look, I'm not going to go tell you to harass him on Twitter, but I'm just you could ask him some things, maybe. He'll be
I
able to
will.
answer some
Ask
things.
him questions.
Alrighty,
I
thank
can't
you
wait
so much
for
for
your
joining
next
us.
quest design idea.
Thank you for joining us, Miles. We will see you on the internet.
Thank you.
Okej, czy to jest koniec wszystkiego?
Somebody from that team. I'm always just so amazed by how candid they are. They're always just like, it doesn't feel like you're talking to a really rehearsed PR person. They're always like very candid and open and honest, and also just like everyone is always like, well,
To jest prawda, szczególnie właśnie Miles i Paweł Sasko.
I don't know. You love to hear that kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
very
it's-
nice to hear the love and support.
It is genuinely crazy to think that I've known most of that team for like 10 years. It's wild. And they have not changed. They're the same people they were back then, and they're still just great, down-to-earth folks. So I love them tremendously. But equally cool is for the last few months, Cyberpunk 2077 fans from around the world, much like me, have been submitting their best cosplay interpretations of characters seen in Night City. Today, we are happy to announce the grand final winner. Let's take a look at her video submission right now.
Okej, będzie jeszcze powtórka cosplayu, tego, który pewnie wygrał.
For this competition, I cosplay Dum Dum, a character which allows me to transform completely into a badass gang member from the world of Cyberpunk 2077. Thanks for watching and goodbye.
No generalnie moim zdaniem nadal powinien wygrać ten gościu, który miał jebany egzoszkielet. No ale cóż, nie wygrał. Nawet 3. miejsca nie zajął. Szkoda.
Okay. So cool! Hi, Mia!
O, okej, dobra, czyli będzie jeszcze z nią wywiad. Tego się nie spodziewałem.
Is absolutely insane. Jesse and I saw this earlier and were like, okay, first question, how did you get the lights in your face to work?
How?
Oh, that was just one of the simpler parts about the costume. I made a face scan and 3D modeled then the face prosthetics in 3D, printed it out, sanded it, and polished it so it's like shiny metal parts, and then it's just glued onto my face with prosthetic glue, and that's all. So.
Not that simple. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, how did you get the wiring to work so that the lights, you know, they in the video they turn off, they are different colors at some point. Like, how did you make all that happen? Because I was looking at your head, trying to figure out where wires were.
The wiring just goes with the straps behind my head. Dum Dum has not real hair. He has like these flat cables, which are also casted. Like every single hair is separately casted and then glued on my head. So the wiring just hides under the hair, goes in the bodysuit around my back, and then we have those pockets in the military vest he wears, and there are the batteries.
It's just insane. None of this is simple. Don't sell yourself short. I'm absolutely amazed. And it's also cool to see your actual face, because seeing this video beforehand, it was like, I have no concept of what you really look like. It's nuts. You fully look like you just belong in the Cyberpunk world, which is obviously why you won. So huge congrats. That must have been awesome.
Thank you. Yes, it really was. It was an amazing experience. I never take part in a contest that took so long, because normally you have like a few months and then you go on stage and then you have the results. The whole competition take about a year. So it was a
ponad nawet rok. W lipcu 2019 go ogłosili chyba.
Competition like that, and it was really fun to join.
Well, it definitely was worth it, because you won $15,000, professional photo shoot for
30,000.
a Cyberpunk Collector's Edition, and a kick-ass trophy. So I mean, like, look at these photos. It's so impressive. This is really amazing.
I have no words other than I can't believe that's really you. What is it that you're wearing? Like the sort of chest arm like material. What is that?
It's a silicone muscle suit. It is the first time that I and my boyfriend did something like that. The design of Dum Dum was not that complex in the first gameplay trailer you have seen, but after I qualified for the grand finale at Paris Games Week, we asked CDPR for more reference material, and when we get the photos, it was just like, oh my god, the whole body changed. So we were thinking about how can we get the look right, how can we attach like real metal parts or cyberware parts into my body, and we ended up with the solution to build a suit completely out of dragon skin, which is a silicone specifically made for prosthetics and silicone suits also in movies. And yeah, we just tried our best. The whole body was first hand sculpted with oil-based clay by myself. while I was busy with sculpting, Luke 3D modeled the body parts, the cyberware parts, and then we printed everything, sanded it. After that, I insert the 3D printed parts in the clay, and then I need to remove them. So we have this holes to insert the parts when the silicone cast was done. So there were like a huge amount of steps you need to do to get this suit. Also, it was just a kind of expensive work because the materials are not that cheap, and we were like, oh please, when we will open the mold, it must be a success. We don't have any time to make a new one. We don't have any money to get a new one done. So we were like shivering when we have to open the mold, like, please, it must be a success. And it was, and we were just happy, crying. So, oh my god, it worked.
Aww.
Really, we are so happy.
It is incredible. Sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. I'm just like really curious. You said it took a while. Like, what is the actual time this whole process took? Because I think a lot of people would love to know the actual time it takes to go this deep into creating a character.
Wow, it's I guess when I count like to make every part of the costume, I think we work for about half a year. I think maybe a bit longer, like 7-8 months, because we had so many details. We have the weapons. Some of the weapons have sound effects, have light effects, have motors installed. Alone the silicone suit sculpting take me about 3 weeks, just the sculpting. Wow. So yeah, it was just crazy.
I'm so impressed, and I guess I want to ask, like, as someone who's dabbled in cosplay a little bit but could never make that, were there any techniques that you used for the first time in making Dum Dum, like things that you just had no idea how to do, that this was your first time ever attempting them, or did you generally understand how to do every piece of this when you headed into making this cosplay?
Actually, for this costume, I learned a lot of new techniques. I did a bit of sewing, but not like that much, so for me it was quite a challenge to sew also the parts perfectly. Also the military vest was like a difficult part, because those military jackets have like a strange feeling. They're like plastic foil in it. It's just like, it's not just fabric, it needs to be a bit more, and I ended up with sewing like a foil you used for garden ponds we have in the garage, and I was like, this is the perfect material, can I have it? And Luke's dad was like, okay, if you want it, go for it. It's perfect for the jacket. For the jacket, okay. And also, we did a lot of casting with resin before, but no casting with silicone. And also, painting silicone is like different to everything I ever did before. Also, the skin color was a challenge. I did several tests before, because just the skin tone pigment is too flat for the suit, so it will just look like a puppet or something. So I mixed several tones of blue and red and add more skin tone and more blue and more red, and still wasn't satisfied. And yeah, so yes.
You're amazing. I'm just so amazed. I'm like, you're incredible. My gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'm sure that 15,000 will go to making all sorts of awesome cosplay.
Yes.
To everyone else who entered, your cosplay was amazing too. Thank you so much. Stunning. All of it stunning. But that is it for us today. We're gonna wrap this bad boy up.
Okej, czyli kończymy. Wybaczcie, bo tu muszę przeczytać jedną wiadomość.
Alana for leading the charge here today. Besides finding us in the world of Night City, which you can, Alana, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm at Charlanazad on everything, which you're not going to be able to spell. It is on screen right now, but it's fine. But yeah, I work at Rooster Teeth, so I work at a comedy gaming channel called Funhouse, and also Inside Gaming, and also, you know, make content in my own time, so you can find me pretty much everywhere. How about you, Jeff?
Podcast polecam po raz kolejny. Play, watch, listen.
Everywhere. Same thing, except, actually, I have a podcast, The Rooster Teeth, so technically, there you go. I mean, what do you know? Here we are, together at last. Yeah. So, that's it for us. Thank you again to Miles, thank you to Mia, thank you to all of you for watching. This was great. I'm very excited. We are a month and 4 days away from venturing.
Dokładnie, miesiąc i 4 dni.
Reels, and I cannot wait for you to see what is in store for you. It is crazy.
What do you know that I don't, Jesse? What's in store for me?
I said I can't wait for you to see it. I'm not going to tell you.
Damn it.
That would,
one of these
it would
days.
spoil the fun.
Yeah, it's fair. All right, very, very, very excited to check the game out. As you said, huge thanks to Miles and Mia for joining us. Thank you, Jesse, for being an awesome co-host. Thank you for Twitch for hosting us, and make sure that you stay tuned because I believe the weekly is coming right up. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you guys around.
Ale my sobie już pójdziemy w inne miejsce internetu, gdzie już tego streama nie będzie generalnie. No i cóż, na tym sobie zakończymy ten Night City Wire generalnie. Strasznie głośno ta muzyka, muszę ją sobie przyciszyć, może ją sobie tak przyciszę po prostu. Także dzięki wszystkim za oglądanie, na szczęście internet wrócił, także udało mi się to obejrzeć na żywo, także bardzo, bardzo fajnie. Następne jakieś wydarzenie to jest chyba RDNA od AMD, 28 października, nie ma jeszcze dokładnej godziny, także na to już was teraz zapraszam. Także mogę tutaj zapowiedzieć, że będzie event halloweenowy w DevLive i będzie też przeczytany na Steamie, także to też możecie sobie obczaić, link powinien być w opisie, a jak nie to spokojnie znajdziecie w Google, na YouTubie czy na Steamie właśnie wpisując DevLive w wyszukiwarkę. Także dzięki za oglądanie i do zobaczenia na kolejnym Night City Wire, bo jeszcze jedno co najmniej będzie na pewno, bo to potwierdziła ta pani prowadząca, która nie pamiętam jak ma na imię, chyba Britney, ale nie jestem pewien. W każdym razie dzięki za uwagę i do zobaczenia na kolejnych streamach. Pa, pa!